I love that even with a 30-minute panel, they barely discuss the deck list.
There was no artifact discussion whatsoever.
I think Slacks it really nailed it on the head when he has his bracket with Real Man winning and then almost voted for Stormlike in this round. I think is a picture-perfect definition of Slacks. We are finally in the game, though. Let's move into this finally after a long delay.
All right. So, Artifact. Remember the thing that we're casting? Okay. We've got red-black taking on red-green to start this out. And as we've kind of talked about in the past, these red-black lists are looking for ways to slow down the red-green ramp. And while we don't see gank and the usual tools to do that in the hand of Real Man, thankfully, Stormlike does not have any form of ramp outside of that Roseleaf Druid as well.
And right away, we do see just the unfavorable matchup here with Lich trying to use a Chain Frost on a deck that has so much armor and Treant with Axe, Legion. The Bristleback once gets a few hero kills and, of course, a lot of units as well. It's going to be tough. Chain Frost in hand, but might not be as useful as Real Men expects it to be in certain matchups. Yeah,
the Chain Frost, if they have to use it, right? If they lose and they have to use it against the blue-green list, a lot more value there potentially against prey on the weak targets. But here, typically, it is not very effective.
And the Secrets comes down on lane 3, so I think Stormlike hoping a creep does not land in that lane, but it does. In the end, also kind of, says I'm not going to be putting Treant in this lane. I think it's pretty clear if you put a Secrets there, I'm going to go to lane 1 instead and hope for maybe a double Stars of Line draw to just get Time of Triumph online immediately.
Yeah, and Phantom Assassin comes down, but avoids an opposing hero, which is always bittersweet, right? Like, you're never upset that you're getting rid of damage on the tower, but you also want to use Phantom Assassin to do what it's meant to do, kill heroes, and that's a great pickoff.
Yeah, there's a pickoff coming in clutch, upkeep kill on the Omni Knight. Bristleback gets the armor as well, so a great synergy there. We talked about pickoff with Phantom Assassin being a great spell against these red and green heroes that have a very high health pool. They survive the first round, sure, but they get weakened down to that 3, 4, 5 health range, and that Omni Knight there, a clear example.
And just like that, that first tower already down to 28 for Stormlight.
Complete control in lane 2 as well with a Stonehall Elite, killing the creep there and getting the buff. And Bristleback, of course, hitting tower with the armor as well.
Yeah, that is two beefy boys. Now, Real Man has a decision to make here, because you could use Smash their defenses, but typically you want to save that for a Salamane's favor. It is far more disruptive, and Real Man does just that, does not play it on the Unearthed Secrets.
And again, there is no guaranteed value on that Secrets. Again, another creep spawns there as well, so still it's okay to not even use that Smash because the Secrets is not getting any card draw there for Stormlike.
And it looks like Real Man is considering putting this Lich in the right lane. I'm a big fan of that. You've got a strong presence in the other two already, so there's no reason to overcommit.
Maybe Stormlike hoping would have placed the Secrets in the second lane instead, with a pretty clear lane there for Real Man hitting the tower every turn. But in this case, not getting much value. I mean, they're great early on. You can get great card draw to try and find those stars aligned, those Salamane's favors to ramp up quickly, but maybe too premature of a placement there for Stormlike.
Yeah, and Stormlike also kind of weighing the pros and cons of where to place this Legion Commander, because in all honesty, there's not many good positions. If you go to that first lane, you almost guaranteed end up in front of that Phantom Assassin. With the creep there, it's like 50-50, but at least in my experience, that never goes my way, so I just assume, all right, that's going to be what happens.
Still no real ramp for Stormlike. Can find something from the Potion of Knowledge. Decides to play the Roseleaf Druid first because that Treant is at kill range. Hipfire, for example, could kill it, so that would be the only real valuable play, I think, for Stormlike this round. So gets that out first. No heal, of course, or cloak for the Treant anyway, so can't really save it this turn. And now I think we will see a Potion of Knowledge just to see what he can draw. Well, an okay Bronze Legionnaire, but still missing out on the Salamane's favor and the Stars Align.
Now, as we talk about the things that Stormlike wants to do,
the Legion has arrived.
He finds the curve.
We do see the curve, all right. I was just going to say we were going to expect a Bronze Legionnaire and a curve, and the patience by Real Man pays off, waiting to use that Hipfire, not taking the easy kill on the Treant.
This is complete dominance in lane 2. Could use enough magic, but I think no need. Nothing to contest here, and down to the perfect 16. So if no creep spawns there, and there's no answer from the Omni, that could be a tower next turn for Real Man.
And this time decides, all right, let's get rid of that, smash their defenses. Honestly, I think this one was more about the cycle than getting rid of the improvement itself.
And a great hand for Real Man. Looks to be, you know, curving perfectly into the mid game with enough magic to maybe close out a lane and surprise Stormlike with the, you know, current board state favoring Real Man in almost every lane. And then, of course, also Berserker's Calls and 2-timer Triumphs. So the big advantage for Stormlike is the ramp, but if you don't find it, then all of a sudden this red-black list has a lot more options than you do going into the late game.
Yeah, there's just more powerful mid-range cards in this list. And again, Stormlike has Time of Triumph, has Thunderhide Alpha, but has not drawn Stars Align, has not drawn Salamania's Favor, and as such, they are still just kind of hanging out.
You will get a turn ahead with Rose Leaf Druid. Next turn, he can put down Time of Triumph onto 3 heroes if all his heroes survive here. So that could be game-changing in this lane, but lane 2 completely in favor of Real Man would be a tower kill like we mentioned before. 16 damage going through.
Now, Jasper Dagger is coming down on Axe here. And depending on how initiative goes, there is a chance that on the following turn, one of those 3 Berserker's Calls could just clean up the Druid.
I think it's definitely a consideration. Also, no armor on this lane just yet, so Chain Frost could also be a useful tool. These heroes, you know, going down to 4 HP, 4 here, and 8 on Bristleback could clear the lane potentially.
Yeah.
Treant will be coming in, though, if it comes to this lane. Going to add a little bit of armor and health as well.
Yeah, in order to use that Chain Frost, unfortunately, Phantom Assassin would have survived, and Stormlike just denies any chance of that happening.
I think this will be initiative, just holding it if you're a Real Man. I think there isn't an option in this red-green list. There is actually one Fight Through the Pain, but it's not currently in hand, and I think there's going to be, oh, Stonehall Cloak played.
All right, that is interesting.
And the pass. So, yeah, Stormlike knows. He has Time of Triumph. He has the ramp. Rose Leaf Druid is up and alive. So, a very punishing Stonehall Cloak, I think.
Yeah, that might be an incredibly costly cloak there. A little bit of greed potentially from Real Man, because this would have been a very clearing Berserker's Call. I mean, they typically are, but getting rid of the Druid to prevent an 8-cost card, getting rid of the Omni Knight as well, and then because of the daggers, even clearing up Bristleback, essentially you just, you know, leave the creeps there.
A very risky play. No black here to play Chain Frost, only the Axe here, but without any sort of initiative because of that Stonehall Cloak. A very risky play from Real Man. You give up, and now you're going to give your opponent, you know, the turn to go 1 ahead on Time of Triumph, and with their hero dying as well, it just means that you're going to be incredibly behind in this lane. Now you have to fight for lane 3, but Stormlike, he acknowledges this, places 3 heroes in lane 3.
Yeah, this was a heads-up deployment by Stormlike, and you have to imagine this is going to be a snapped Time of Triumph.
And now Berserker's Call is completely useless. Well, it could kill the Omni Knight, but still. And then Stars Align has also been drawn, so third lane, we're going to see a 3-hero Time of Triumph. Unless enough magic is played from Real Man.
Yeah, unfortunately, Real Man used the tempo in the second lane to effectively push it down, but on the first lane, it was just a big kind of misplay, I think, playing that Stonehall Cloak. All right, Dresden Standards coming down on the Bristleback.
Modify effect means that you're getting some value onto the hero itself, so you have the chance to, if you port that out with Blink Dagger later on, have a little bit of a beefier unit when you play red cards, but still, Bristleback stuck in this lane. The Ancient Kill isn't really going to be a thing, and at this point, with a second Time of Triumph coming down.
You have to assume that they're doing that because they want to find some mobility later on and move that over, and when you're doing nothing in that lane anyway, developing, I guess, isn't a terrible move. All right,
no, enough magic has to come down.
Yeah, there goes Stars Align, and that's enough magic.
But it still feels bad. I mean, your Lich survives, your Legion dies. It's still a 1v3 there. You have the Phantom Assassin coming in, but...
Yeah, and now if they were playing enough magic that turn to do something, you're afraid they're going to do that same thing this following turn, and all you have is that Lich.
Real Man hoping for a coup here, I think. Going to guarantee the kill on Bristleback. Everything else would be pretty useless. Pick off with 4 armor impossible. And Chain Frost as well would just hit a wall there. We don't find the coup here, so unfortunate draws for Real Man. He can, of course, blink this PA out of here. Just give up this lane if he chooses to.
Yeah, but giving up this lane doesn't do a whole lot for you. If you go to the third lane, you're already in a pretty poor position there. By blinking out, you're giving up initiative, which would just ensure another time of triumph there.
I think pickoff can come down here onto the Legionnaire at least. And the Ancient, I mean, over 3 turns could be a choice here. I think we'll see Bristleback maybe get ported out. And we do have Time of Triumph now in hand for Real Man. It is the natural mana turn 8. So the stall did work out at least in the last lane.
Depending on what Real Man decides to do here, right? He could actually, on the next turn, try to double deploy the heroes he's got coming down into that middle lane, and then play another Time of Triumph and try to push if there are no enemy hero creep spawns there and it's just straight tower damage. So I think when we get to this middle lane, it's going to be really telling whether or not that Tresden's standards comes down again on Bristleback to just push, you know, every bit of damage that might be necessary.
Would be very risky though. Last lane already quite low. This lane going down to 18 as well. So both lanes down to 18 now. And the hero coming in as well for Stormlike next turn.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to play either Time of Triumph, or a Tresden's here because, you know, why not? You're pushing quite a bit of damage here. I think this is going to be, a Bristleback blink. You have to play defensive at this point.
So Bristle does go over, slows this down.
Initiative in favor of Stormlike, so he can Time of Triumph before the possible Berserker's Call comes down. We'll see it here. We're on 3 heroes.
And
There's
Berserker's Call still comes down to clean up the Treant. It is 4 less siege damage. The arrow curve from Legion Commander means that only 4 siege damage is coming from that as well.
Again, no mana. Both players, well, Time of Triumph and Berserker's Call from Real Man to answer back. And now he's able to stall this out for a bit. I think the Ancient lane isn't really going to be the focus right now. He has to instead maybe defend his 3rd lane or, like you said, the 1st lane.
Yeah, for this lane, potentially, with those 2 heroes coming back next turn and this Bristleback.
Yeah. The duel can come down and kill the Legion as well, so this Bristleback really carrying it here for Real Man. 8 armor, almost impenetrable.
And now up to 9 because of the Tresden standards. Do you remember when some people were saying that that card was garbage? Because it is putting in work right now.
Making Bristleback a true, you know, hero killer. Even with Time of Triumph on the Axe and the Legion, still easy cleanup and stays healthy at 12 HP.
Yeah, and again, with these 2 red heroes coming down in the deployment phase for Real Man this turn, and another Time of Triumph in hand, that actually might just be enough to win that 3rd lane.
And yeah, he's giving up lane 1 altogether. He has the blink on PA. We're going to see Stormlike deploying the Omni Knight, and this could be game. I mean, there is also Blink Dagger in hand for Stormlike, but can he really challenge a 5-hero deploy maybe? With Phantom Assassin also blinking that way, you can find a pick-off to get some extra resource from the PA as well, or a gank even. Yeah,
gank I think would be the ideal pickup, but again, that Blink Dagger in hand, so if you really want to send Phantom Assassin over there, try to set up a 5-hero Time of Triumph. That is an option.
But if the red hero does blink to lane 3, you have the chance for cards like Enough Magic to stop that, and another Time of Triumph drawn. There are 2 more Tresden standards, so.
And Berserker's Call cleans up the Phantom Assassin, denying any cross lane plays, any blinking out. I think Stormlike was afraid of something there, and also wanted to ensure that this tower went down because of the unlucky arrow that Bristleback was targeting a creep.
He has lethal on this tower, but he has to blink to defend, and all of a sudden Real Man turns, you know, the tide of this game completely and forces Stormlike on his back foot.
Yeah, this is a very back and forth game at the moment.
3 heroes in the fountain, so Stormlike has very little to defend here, and initiative in favor of Real Man. We could see a Berserker's Call from this Bristleback. We could also just see another Time of Triumph onto 4 heroes. Chain Frost, absolutely useless because of the 4 armor on each of these heroes.
Yeah, Chain Frost wouldn't even tickle. They are armored up, they are wearing winter coats. They do not care about the frost at all.
Now, Berserker's Call not too useful with the high health pools and the armor on both of these heroes.
Yeah, this is Real Man doing the math. He's trying to say, okay, like if I play Time of Triumph here, do I have lethal? And if I don't, then how do I potentially clear this board next turn? Because the siege damage from these other Time of Triumph heroes would mean a draw, potentially.
Well, there is a blocker coming down, a pretty good blocker too. at 25-25. Can block quite a bit there. You can play Roseleaf Druid as well, but no second small blockers. You can only really block one of these two heroes.
That Thunderhide Alpha, or as some people in the panel like to say, the Thunder Horse Alpha, apparently because it is a stallion of a 25-25.
With a double cleave, actually just enough to kill the Thunderhide Alpha. Could be a big thing for the next turn, but even him at 25-25 still dying to this army from Real
with
Man.
This Blink Dagger on the Legion Commander, that makes Real Man 1 off of lethal, unfortunately. And as such, the Blink Dagger does not go on the Legion Commander, instead goes on the Lich just to ensure this gets cleared up.
And there is Time of Triumph on all 3 heroes coming in for Stormlike.
Which, again, has the potential to cause a draw, so placement.
If lane 1 is taken, though, you still have lane 1 that's still up at 12 HP for Real Man, and a creep coming in there as well. So you have to play 1 hero in that lane at the very least. You can't even port it out unless you get something like the Thunderhide Alpha coming down in that first lane as well without a blocker blocking it. So
yeah, this is the correct split here, because you need at least 2 heroes in the third lane, because that'll give you 8 siege damage even if everything is blocked. You need 1 hero in this first lane, and you want to send your red heroes, I think, all the way to the third lane and then hope that you draw a Berserker's Call and maybe yourself or a duel or something to tip the balance in your favor.
Now, with the right curves, we could see a problem here for Stormlike. If that creep lands right in the middle and everything curves into it, even with the Roseleaf Druid played, you have 4 guaranteed siege damage from Treant.
Yep.
Now that is maybe a game-losing decision here for Stormlike. I think you have to have at least 1 hero lane 1.
Yeah, he's just switching this out.
And this is just trying to guarantee, like I said, if those curves happen, we're going to see Axe hitting tower perfectly, so that's going to be a guaranteed 14 damage there. No answer from Real Man without a hero in this lane. So it's option 1. And no Blink Dagger, so now Axe is stuck here. No Spring the Trap either to try and help out lane 3.
Yeah, actually, had Axe been what landed in front of the melee creep, there would have been potential for a problem there.
Initiative in favor of Stormlike, and no heroes in lane 2 either to answer back from Real Man to try and steal that back. And Berserker's Call could be clutch in lane 3. If you can kill these Time of Triumph heroes, we have a huge Bristleback.
We have a huge Bristleback, and you have to remember that it has had 2 Time of Triumphs, and it has that Tresden Standards on there, so it's also going to buff itself once you play the red card.
You can even play a second Tresden Standards and then play Berserker's Call as well to make him even bigger. And there's little else that Stormlike can do to guarantee with initiative. He has no enough magic. He has Berserker's Call, but again, it can't kill this Bristleback. He's way too massive, and I think this might just be Real Man's game to win here. There's not much I think that he can do.
And down comes a 25-25 blocker.
And this does nothing to change the outcome of that damage onto his tower due to the siege damage. So he's now saying, what do you have? I'm going for a tie. And Real Man's going to answer that with a massive Berserker's Call from this enormous Bristleback. A second Trident will be played first, as well as Jasper Dagger, just to guarantee even more damage. You see the X's.
Yeah. The daggers are a very big deal because the piercing is negating an awful lot.
The Berserker's Call just guaranteeing the win. No need for playing the Tresden Standards. And Real Man takes the first game of this series. A very back and forth game. He looked like to be on the back foot at the beginning. And then he clawed back into that, able to play his Time of Triumph 1 turn later, but still stay in the game with enough magic that kind of stalled out for him in that lane 3. And yeah, a great game from Real Man.
Yeah, Real Man played as tight and clean as we expected. It was incredibly well navigated. I didn't see anything that I felt was a questionable decision, and continues to show that he is a real man, and that's why I picked him to win my bracket.
I think all 5 of us actually picked Real Man to win this game. Oh, except for Rob, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Rob maybe made a 3rd bad decision today already. We'll find out very soon.
All right, so we're jumping into the game here. And now we have the mono red list of Real Man. And this is one that does run both Timbersaw and Tidehunter. Looks like Stormlike bringing back that red-green list with the Thunderhide Alpha in hand, along with a Salamane's Favor and a Roseleaf Druid. So no stars aligned, but you do have some ramp, and you have a card that you want to ramp up to. Spot Weakness against a mono red list is actually a decent card as well, but
he
gets
has
cycled.
The exact avenue he needs to play that Thunderhide Alpha on turn 3. He can't go turn 2 because it's 9 mana, he's 1 above the Time of Triumph, so you need that extra turn, but can do it at turn 3 for sure, especially with the Roseleaf Druid play there next turn.
Yeah, that is incredibly important, and it also means that Real Man, he doesn't know it yet, but he really needs to kill these green heroes. We've talked about in the past that one of the ways you can kind of keep the green-red ramp deck down is by killing the green heroes, because they are required for the ramp. You cannot play Stars Align, you cannot play Salamania's Favor if they are off the board. And in order to do that, Real Man needs to pick up some duels this early.
Already a wide board for Real Man in lane 1. Looking at the list, we see that he has enough magic. He has the Kraken Shells for initiative, so he can stop the Stars Align play. Once he sees that come down, he can play enough magic if he draws into it and just guarantee the kill there. And Smash can also counter the Salamania's Favor. And of course, when you're playing all red heroes, well, that Smash is going to work in every single lane. You can't play around it.
Absolutely. So the Smash, with no duel in hand, actually is a very, very important pickup in trying to slow this down. We also see Tresden Standards, again, doing work. Real Man really believes in Tresden Standards, almost as much as Slacks.
The Roseleaf Druid trying to get some uncontested ramp coming up. You can't really counter this if you are Real Man, but you will have the Smash for the turn after to counter the ramp in hand for Stormlike. You can start chipping away at this Roseleaf Druid with the Legion Standard Bear coming on the right side of there.
Now, unfortunately, the Standards, if it were to go down on the Legion Commander, would not be enough to save it, because it would only be 1 armor. So the decision here is, do you want to push more damage with the Standard Bearer or not? And it looks like that is the case.
This means that the save will come in on Omni Knight with the All-Seeing One's Favor onto the Omni Knight. Will allow it to survive, like you said. Tresden Standards will only add 1 attack to this axe, so it won't be enough to cure this regeneration. I think it's going to be a pretty easy choice here. Could play the Salamania's Favor, though. It's very tempting.
Yeah, because there's no green hero in the right lane, I actually think that's what's going to happen. You are looking to set up this ramp, right? You want to get your Thunderhide down. If you do not play Salamania's Favor this turn, then you're just slowing yourself that much further. So,
he goes for the survivability instead onto this Omni Knight. It is a modify effect, so now for the rest of this game, these creeps are going to be taking very little damage from opponent's creeps, but
Standard still comes down, and I like that.
Unfortunately, no real kill spell, no Sucker Punches in the list for Real Man, so that Omni Knight will survive without any kind of upkeep kill next turn, even though it's only at 1 HP. There is a Whirling Death. That is the one chance you have if you are Real Man. Not currently in hand, though.
I mean, you could draw like a duel or something like that as well. We've talked about the importance of using those cards to keep the green heroes down, and this first lane is going to have Timbersaw and Tidehunter, and those are not heroes that would be able to duel the Treant, so even if you draw one, you're not going to use it there, so Omni Knight makes a lot of sense.
Now, Stars Align, if you draw a Time of Triumph, it cannot be stopped here unless enough magic is drawn by Real Man.
Well, there is a duel.
And there's a Time of Triumph, so Gonna look pretty grim here for Real Man. No real answer. The duel can't come down, but again, not gonna kill the Treant or the Axe. 4 armor on Axe.
Yeah, this is where you really wish it was Bristleback in this lane and not the Fishy Creep with that 2 attack.
And there's a Time of Triumph coming down. No answer from Real Man, so all of a sudden this is looking very much in favor of Stormlike. Even without the favor played, because you were ramping up into the Time of Triumph that was drawn this turn instead of the Thunderhide Alpha.
Now, I really like this play. So you haven't really invested a lot in this lane. I mean, you have, but the tower damage does not reflect that. So now that you have lost this due to the Time of Triumph, you might as well bail out and start pressuring another lane, trying to race those other 2 lanes down before they find mobility to move those big Time of Triumph heroes around.
This lane does look scary, though, for Stormlike. He has the wide board, he has the regeneration to keep these creeps alive and continue widening the board even further in the next few turns. I think we might see a double deploy here next turn. Duel does come down, though.
So Duel going to get damage in on Omni Knight, but because of the way the card is worded, the plus attack from the Standards comes after the resolution of the duel, and that means that Omni Knight does survive.
I think that is a mistake by Real. I think he might have thought it worked the other way around. Maybe this is a card you don't use too often because now he's just looking for a trade, and it's not that favorable. So yeah, it might have been Real Man. First time really playing around with this combination and backfiring here. The lack of game knowledge in this specific case.
Yeah, it is entirely possible. It's also possible that he knew that post-combat that there would just be a trade here, and that's a great smash their defenses.
And that is the Jasper Dagger going to counter that as well. So maybe he was thinking about the buff later on with the extra armor, could have saved him, but there's an answer as well from Stormlike. So could have been just that. You were expecting the second play from but again, how do you know your opponent's going to play an improvement, right? It's very risky.
But either way, that was actually a pretty exciting mid-game round because there was an awful lot of back and forth going on there.
We're going to see Timbersaw doing his own thing in lane 3. We'll see if Bristleback from Stormlike goes to that lane to try and contest that as well, or is it going to just give an empty lane for Real to take down by itself, and it might just be a contestation in the second lane instead. No Blink Dagger found for Tidehunter. One turn off of that Ravage could be very useful in the mid lane to kind of stall out and take control of this wide board. Omni is now dead, so the regen not going to help these creeps.
Given the wide board here, I would be really tempted if I were Stormlike to just attack this second lane. The third lane is not in my opinion, a ton of danger. You don't have a presence there, but that Timbersaw, let's be honest, isn't exactly a tower killer. You know, it has the dagger, but it's still only attacking for 6.
The Blink Dagger is in hand for Stormlike, so although there's a bit of an overcommittal in this lane, he can blink one of these heroes to lane 2, so it's not the end of the world. Might just be the Treant to have a green-red spread in lane 2.
Yeah, that very well could be. If you are planning on blinking the axe out, putting Bristleback here to ensure you can still play red cards makes sense.
The Roseleaf Druid coming down this turn means that Time of Triumph would naturally be available again next turn, or even an Emissary. Although there's actually no Emissaries in the deck list, I think, for Stormlike. Yeah, only the Thunderhide Alphas.
Only the Thunderhide Alphas. Now, I really like blinking this axe out for a number of reasons, but one of the big ones is that strands... Well, okay, that changes... I was going to say that strands Tidehunter here. So Tidehunter's doing Real Man no help being here right now, right? So the longer you can strand him there and make him not be able to redeploy and take advantage of his Ravage, his activated ability, you kind of hurt him. So I know that you want to develop the creeps there and try to push that tower, but there's a part of me that wanted to see that Tidehunter get stranded.
So the Viscous Nasal comes out because you don't really have a great... I mean, Miracle Brawler in front of Axe isn't fantastic. You're not going to kill him. He has 6 armor. There's a TP scroll onto the Legion Commander. Going to keep that alive and healthy for the next turn. And not much else. I mean, not a very exciting round here for either player.
Yeah, that Jasper Dagger's coming down on Legion Commander might signify a future duel attempt. You don't have one in hand, and Berserker's Call is position-based, so you can't take out the enemy axe right now. But if you pick up a duel, it could clean it up. It does allow you to push some extra tower damage. Now, that is interesting.
Yeah, I think it wasn't really necessary. I mean, the mana was... I'm not sure if it was spent in lane 2, but still, with that much stalling, I think it wasn't a play to be made.
There was 2 mana left, and because the daggers went down, and I was just saying, like, you don't have the duel, I think that Stormlike thought it was coming and just used enough magic to counter. So maybe a really heads-up bait by Real Man there.
Yeah, definitely.
And you still get, 2 extra bonus damage on the tower as a result.
And now we're still 1 turn off of the Time of Triumph. Axe is going to lane 1.
Yeah, Axe is going to lane 1 to just try to stall a little bit longer.
You'd be scared of the ancient potential with the Thunderhide Alphas. But we are at 8 mana, and Time of Triumph can come down.
So, Time of Triumph in hand. And with a Blink Dagger there, you have to, in my opinion, play this here, right? Like, you could be greedy and maybe play it in the second lane next turn, but since you only have 7 mana there now and you have 8 here, I think, I was going to say, I think that this is a good enough Time of Triumph. You don't have to be over greedy with it. Just take what you're given.
Now, if you blink out the Bristleback, it still is perfect lethal for Stormlike. And you can leave Axe stranded in this lane for a few turns, like you mentioned before, only dealing 6 damage to the tower here.
Yep. Blink comes down. So.
But now Whirling Death can answer to take away 2 attack from the Treant.
Again, a lot of like really good back and forth. Very close series so far. I like the play by both players.
There's no item in hand for Stormlike, no mana available either in this first lane. And there it is. Whirling Death comes down, stall this out by 1 more turn, which could be crucial because the Ancient with Thunderhead Alpha, if you don't have a blocker, could be massive. We see the Kraken Shell as well.
Yep, that takes initiative back so that you can take some action here.
Berserker's Call could be an option, but again, there's very little you can do here if you are Real Man.
Well, if you Berserker's Call with your Legion Commander, though, yeah, I was going to say, you clean up the other Legion Commander.
You're going to see an answer back Berserker's Call from Stormlike. The Bristleback already at 14, 4, 16, a massive wall of stats. Going to take down this second lane. 6 mana available, and then the first lane, it's almost unstoppable. You have a huge wall of creeps. Well, the Ravage can come down. A lucky Ravage could stall this out for 1 more turn at least.
Or not. Or Stormlight can just take this right now, and now you only need 2 damage in that first lane to wrap this up. And
yeah, but the Ravage could come down in the first lane. That's what I was mentioning.
Yeah.
So you could stop all those creeps and all that damage, even if you're only at 2 HP. There's no deployment from Stormlike, no Blink Daggers to lane 1, so it's all about this initiative. And this Ravage from Tidehunter, he can be, again, the MVP, at least to stall out a tiny bit here for Real Man.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and the problem is, even if you get a perfect Ravage, let's just say this shuts everything down. How do you win as Real Man? Because you don't have a way to blow this board up, right? There is no Annihilation in red.
Well, he's in position with initiative to stop the Treant. If he stuns all of these units, he can time a Triumph as well. You'll have to get very lucky, though. He has 2 units here. He has to stun, only 2 HP. Oh, and the 1 creep survives. There isn't a single blocker or Berserker's Call possibility from Real Man, and that's going to be game. So this 50-50 could have very much, decided the game. I mean, you could play Time of Triumph here. You're going to cleave through a lot of these creeps. You have 2 deployments next turn. You're taking this lane, the 3rd lane with Timbersaw.
Oh!
Now the duel comes down.
All right.
Oh, Axe can kill some people with this.
You can duel that 1 creep to survive for 1 more turn.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to see that for sure. So, very heads-up play. Again by Real Man. Very impressive just going through each of his options.
The lane's still at 26 HP though. The Blink on Axe as well. The Spring the Trap as well to help lane 1. The Ravage has been wasted, so it's looking very grim for Real Man. He cannot... Oh, I'm going to instead try and stop. The lane 3 has not been taken down yet, still at 10 HP.
Yeah.
We'll have to see a Blink from Axe though, I think.
I think Stormlike is going to take a page right out of Real Man's book and say, okay, you're stalling me in this first lane. I'm going to show you what that feels like and try to prevent this 3rd lane from falling.
I think it would just go all in lane 1, though, once you know that Ravage has been wasted. If you don't Blink now, it's still 10 HP going through. You can't Blink with Timbersaw as well, but, well, I'm going to go for the stall instead.
Yeah, I think...
And there's a concede from Real Man. I think he knows that lane 1 is lost. Lane 3 is looking contested, and that's going to be a 1-1 tie in this series. Stormlike takes the win there against Real Man.
Yeah.
Better draws with red-green. You have that ramp advantage. We saw the Time of Triumph come in much earlier than the own Time of... Well, the Time of Triumph that never came in for Real Man, actually, with red-black.
So now we get to see the Storm deck played by Stormlike, right? This Salamandra Storm deck that we have not seen Stormlike pilot yet. And it's going to be against this mono-red list that has enough magic, and it even starts with it in hand, along with a duel, along with a Whirling Death. I think that this red list might be favored here just because of the tools that it brings to the table. What do you think?
A very clunky start for Stormlike. You have the Stars Alliance, sure, but at any cost, it's situational. You have the very high health red heroes. It's not red-black aggro where it's much more useful. Diabolic, also situational. Stars Align, I mean, you have 2 emissaries. It's really clunky in hand as well, so not the hand you want if you're Stormlike. You want to have those cycle cards, those early impact cards like Sanctum, like Dimensional Portal, like Foresight as well.
For the glory of Stonehold.
The Legionnaire comes out, does not curve, and already 12 damage onto this tower. No response from, well, you can at any cost, I guess, but maybe you want to save that for later.
Yeah, I mean, I like this Legionnaire play for a couple of reasons. Not only are you pressuring this tower early, But if you know you're in a cannon lane and that the 2 melee creeps are going to end up here, this is going to eat one of them unless something is done. So you're kind of planning for the future, and it does force and at any cost.
So very early at any cost, just to kill the Legionnaire there and save some damage to the tower.
Yeah, that is very early, and I think if you're real man, you're okay with that, right? That was a low value.
The Whirling Death can come down here. Kills this one of the creeps on the left this turn, and also weakens the Ogre so that the Viscous Nasal Goo would be a kill if a creep lands here. Oh, the creep kills it next turn actually, so heads up play by Real Man, preparing for the next turn, keeping his creeps healthy as well. And
well,
this is a Stormlike saying, my hand is terrible. I need to Revelation now before it gets even worse. I'm going to kill 2 creeps and damage will come through, but at this point, I need to find better answers, and he doesn't really find them. I mean, set up with Under Secret, Annihilation, also situational for later on. It's great, but what do you play this turn? I mean, you can only play a Secret. We'll see the draws now, but still very awkward.
I mean, the answer is you're going to play Celemane's Favor that you draw because that's just what happens, right?
We'll see. Both heroes both green heroes looking to go into the same lane. A Whirling Death would kill the Treant Protector with initiative this turn, but Drow goes into that lane to make sure there are plays available.
All right, so again, a lot of trades that are looking in the favor of Real Man in this first lane.
The Sanctum comes down. Initiative is in favor of Real Man. He can play the duel just to guarantee that no plays are made in this lane. Instead, goes for the pass.
Yeah, I was thinking we might see a duel. Another option might have been a Stonehall Elite trying to curve into that other melee creep, just because it's another body and you might get the full board clear. Because kind of looking at these other lanes, right, the only other place that is a favorable Stonehall Elite is that 3rd lane.
And the nerf on Axe really showing here. 6 attack cannot kill the Drow with a duel, which is very unfortunate for Real Man. I think he would love to, take away this attack bonus, kill both green heroes in this turn.
Yeah, because we've said it before, and, we'll say it again. If you can keep the green heroes down in these decks that care about ramp, then they cannot ramp. They cannot play Stars Align. They cannot develop Celemane's Favor.
There are the Secrets coming down, hoping to get some more cards to fix this hand. Sanctum was drawn, which is always a great tool, but you're still missing the Foresights, the Dimensional Portals.
And so the Sanctum goes to the middle lane. And that's very telling. That says that is where Stormlike is getting ready to try to set up, try to develop. And that makes sense. The first lane is normally where you would like to do it, but because we've got a Bristle there and a Timbersaw, it's kind of getting out of control. So Stormlike says, all right, I'm going to try for this middle lane instead.
And now Real Man sees this. He says, it's the same as when you play Mist early in the lane. If your opponent goes all in on that lane with Tidehunter, with Axe, and tries to take over, then that Sanctum is kind of wasted. So we'll see if that's Real Man's decision here to try and combat that Sanctum in the 2nd lane.
And if you're Real Man, you might be hoping to smash their defenses, slow the Sanctum down as well. You might be hoping to draw something like Berserker's Call to maybe clear the lane out. We have a duel to potentially enter this Zeus, for example.
But the Bristleback is at 3 HP, so we would have to equip one of those items first, and then initiative would be lost, and a play could be made by Stormlike if he draws into one, because right now, still no, but a very clunky hand. The late game looks fantastic, but you have to reach the late game first.
And yeah, Stonehall Cloak does come down on the Bristleback, which tells me we might end up seeing a duel. Well, if my opponent has passed and they're not playing anything, maybe I don't use the duel.
I'll put the daggers on Timbersaw and get the trade anyway on Zeus, so why waste it at this point? Spot weakness for
and
the
there's
card
a
draw.
Smash their defenses for the following lane. This is looking very good for Real Man, and he properly reads this. He says, you haven't played a single card. I'll save my duel. It's very important.
Ooh, and initiative. So Drow going to be dying to the duel this next turn. That's a full clear. Every hero going to be in the fountain for Stormlike. So full control from this mono red list early on. The Viscous Nasal Goo makes it so that the Axe can finally duel this Drow.
Yeah, and if you want, you can, after the duel, just smash their defenses with the mana left over as well.
Fantastic
and that's exactly what happens. This is like a textbook way to counter this list.
You draw the Berserker's Call for next turn as well, so every lane under pressure here for Real Man. You have the Berserker's Call, you have enough magic if you find the good combat positions as well, so
So a big-time deployment for Stormlike coming because you do get 3 heroes to play with. But unfortunately for you, Realman just bought 3 items. They've got control and pressure and every lane. Like, what do you do if you're Stormlike here? Because you still are trying to assemble your combo pieces.
And the Sanctum was huge to go off and go infinite actually in the second lane this turn with Stars Align. You could Stars Align, it would bring you up to 8 mana, but the 9 would be the under the fraction, I guess you could say. And then when you refresh your app, you're back to 9 mana. So even then, enough magic could have stopped that as well. So.
All right, so Ogre going in this first lane kind of tells me Annihilation is expected.
This is the thing, yeah, I mean, definitely with Initiative, it's for sure. And the thing with the Storm deck, you need to pair blue and green heroes together to get the combo off. You need one of each color, and that makes deployments a bit more awkward. You can't really split up as you do with mono blue.
So I do like this choice of deployments by Stormlike. You have to slow this lane down. You have to try to develop, and that middle lane is still likely your best shot. The third lane, while being pressured, was the least developed by Realman, so if you're going to leave one alone, that's probably the right one to do.
Berserker's Call, not really an option here. Enough magic, though.
Yeah, if you see something that you don't like a Sanctum, or even better, if there's a Stars Align that follows it up before the refresh or something, then enough magic, I have to think, will be exactly what comes down.
Now we'll see how patient Realman is. There's no Luna in this deck, so Eclipse isn't an issue at 6 mana. No Skywrath Mage either. Most of these, dangerous spells are Annihilation, but this board doesn't really, I think, signal that. And Thunder God's Wrath, for example, still also not going to be played. So
Stormlike here could use the Stars Align.
Now it's coming.
Into a Rose Leaf, even.
Oh, enough magic I think is going to be played first. I think Realman knows that this means that the combo can go off with a refresh, and there it is.
Yeah, I was going to say the other option there was Gust, right? And because those heroes were within the cone, that was a very, very crucial enough magic, and Realman properly sniffs it out.
Great counter, just slows down that combo by 2 more turns, the Incarnation combo at least. Emissary can still come down next turn.
Now, Berserker's Call will be a lot more effective this time around if you want to, again, kind of clear out that green hero, if you're worried about ramp. I like this deployment by Stormlike just because it gives you a backup plan, again, a blue and a green paired together. So if something goes wrong here, you can maybe develop and go off in this first lane instead.
And the first lane is always better because you have the chance to play Thunder God's Wrath early from here with no contestation, and then just, clear out heroes like the Axe, like the Legion, before they can even do anything.
Smash their defenses picked up by Realman yet again. Likely going to be a big-time play in this middle lane.
Spring the Trap is available on any of these lanes, and Time and Triumph next turn. 2 of them drawn for Realman, so he has the option to start going off.
Yeah, there will be some options here, right? Because you can smash their defenses in that middle lane. You could Berserker's Call. I like the idea of saving Spring the Trap till the third lane, and then either developing it there to make sure that you take it, or cross lane backwards. But
Ignite comes down, maybe signaling a prey on the weak synergy in this next lane.
What I was looking for.
Thunder God's Wrath does not come down. Of course, a single one would not do too much. You would need 2, and there's no Sanctum in this lane.
Yeah, so Roseleaf comes down instead. And again, I like this development because then this means next turn you have blue, you have green, and you will have 9 mana.
That being said, next turn, Bristleback comes back, 8 attack, 7 here, and 7 here in the -2 armor, and Kraken Shell for the Legion. At the end of this turn could mean that there's still a direct counter for Realman with Berserker's Call, if the positioning is correct.
Yeah, so here, I'm a big fan of just using Ravage, personally. Ravage was available, and it would have stunned the blue hero, right?
And I'm not sure I'm a fan of this Berserker's Call.
No, I liked, just like you were saying, potentially saving it for the following turn because of the positioning that Tidehunter had.
You can still play Kraken Shell, but you don't have the Berserker's Call to punish this the first lane the next turn if you have that correct positioning from Bristleback. So this might be the turning point for Stormlike. If he blocks the damage here, the Sanctum still survives 1 more turn.
Yeah.
And second prey on the weak as well to deal a ton more damage with the Drow buff as well from lane 1.
Yeah,
27 attack.
Yeah, I have to think that this might have been the first misstep we've seen by Realman in the entire tournament, not even just the series, because
and look at this hand. Oh my goodness.
The Ravage was like a free investment play there, and you still could have also then used Smash their defenses on the Sanctum, so Obviously, hindsight 2020 for us, so it looks like really obvious, but even as you kind of consider what your opponent could be doing, and let's be honest, like if Ravage is off cooldown and you can shut down somebody out of a color, it's really tempting.
Initiative in favor of Stormlike. Spring the Trap was played instead of the Kraken Shell. Berserker's Call not in hand, so you couldn't answer back here. Now, if we see the Bristleback with a great positioning here, I think Realman's going to start regretting his decision of Berserker Call in the second lane last turn. And if we see a Sanctum drawn for the Storm deck, there is one more in the deck that could be pretty much lethal because you'll have the Sanctum or the Gust played first to silence both of these heroes. The Berserker's Call would have been fantastic, but Ogre would have survived. So if Sanctum is drawn here, this could be almost it. There's no Sanctum for Stormlike.
Also, no Berserker's Call. So again, this is a bit of a turning point because Stormlike has everything that they want.
You cannot Gust and play the Incarnation the same turn with Stars Align, but you can just go for Incarnation first. There's no direct. There's a time of triumph basically from Realman.
You can just play the Incarnation because what are you afraid of? Even a duel won't take it out with the 11 health at this point.
Although with Storm, you like to have complete control, and Gust plus the Sanctum plus Incarnation does that. In this case, there is some response.
But I guess what I was trying to say is that if you you play the Incarnation, the only thing they can do at that point that like tries to slow you down would be Berserker's Call, because the Incarnation's not going to die, and then you could still play your blue cards. You can still spam Thunder Gods at that point. You could still do Prey on the Weak, so...
We'll see everything come down here for Stormlike. The multicast could be crucial for this Ogre with a Thunder God's Wrath.
Oh, I mean, you don't even need it. You're about to drop 3 emissaries here.
We saw them yesterday in red-green. We're going to see them here, and with just one turn for Stormlike. This is the power of this deck, the unlimited power once you get the combo online.
Yeah. See, this is what's going to happen. This is going to go absolutely bonkers insane in terms of the amount of damage done. And then the next lane, even if you Ravage and you stun everything, you're just going to turn around and lose the Ancient here the following turn. I mean, this is it, essentially. Again, I can't help but point out we might have seen the only potential play mistake that Realman has made the entire tournament, and unfortunately, that might have been it. Now,
if there's one more multicast, that means that Tidehunter dies this turn, and it's direct lethal. So only one more out of all of these. He needs just one more to get the fourth Thunder God's Wrath to kill Tidehunter.
All right.
He has one more chance.
Here we go.
And he does find it, so he wins the game immediately here.
And there is nothing, absolutely nothing that can be done.
The power of this deck, once you unlock the combo, there's a Blink Dagger, but everything else dies as well with the Zap.
Everything is dead.
118 damage in lane 1. Lane 2 uncontested with a huge wave thanks to the double Prey on the Weak last turn, and that is, Stormlike showing why this deck was so dominant in the first WePlay tournament, and why it's still so dominant now if you can't stop this with Mono Red. And he takes the series 2-1, and a big upset for a lot of the casters here.
I can't help but point out that, we said that now that we're in this top 16, we were going to see incredibly tight, very high performance, high quality artifact. And this goes to show it, because this entire series came down to one line of play, realistically. If Realman goes in that other direction, I think this turns out entirely different. So that's it. You can't make mistakes from here on out.
Analyst panel, Realman is out. How surprising is that for you guys?